So Joe, let's go back to getting us a little bit more about what you did. So you're in the concrete plant, you start doing the videos, and you must learn something. You must have to train yourself to learn a little bit more about this science. It was one thing to read about it in a magazine, quite another thing to stand in front of a camera and start doing a talking head video, and quite another to learn how to do thumbnails and production and publish and all the things that you have done. Can you walk us through how you started that process of learning how to really understand YouTube?
Well, it mostly just came from seeing other people and what they were doing, and I hate to say imitating that, but I looked at what was working, and I didn't have no mentor and anything of that nature. In fact, when I came home from prison and started After Prison Show, there was only one other prison YouTube channel out there. This was a West Coast guy. He's still very popular. And he's been around longer than I am, and we differ in everything. He's a black guy, I'm a white guy. He did Fed time, I did state time. He's on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast. He's huge, I'm not. And everything about the two of us was just totally different. Yes, I did look at some of what he was doing, but one thing that I did while looking at that was tried to learn from that, but also thought to myself, okay, well, how do I do my thing differently? I'm not the tough guy. My thing was always through humor, and I'm not even all that funny, but sometimes I do think that I have my moments, and I am able to humor people through the videos. It was through humor that I was able to reach a large number of people and see multiple videos take off. But in terms of learning all of this, I mean, most of this was self-taught. Yes, there were people and still are people that work for me, but they can never do the job that I need them to do. No matter how good they are, it doesn't matter, because ultimately I have to have my hand in every facet of what we're doing video-wise per day, because we do a video almost every single day. What's the video for today? How are we going about filming that? Then the editing process, getting a good title. What's going to be a title that's going to take off and really get people's attention? And then, of course, the thumbnail and, some catchy words on the thumbnail that might drive people to want to check it out more. But nobody can ever match my work ethic from my baby. My baby is After Prison Show. This is what I created, and I always have to maintain like 100% involvement in every process. There's a guy he's an editor of mine, and he's a great editor in terms of putting these videos together for me. But every video, I would say at least 99, not 99, maybe like 95% of the videos that we upload, I'm seeing these videos, I'm proofing, I'm like the editor-in-chief basically for a newspaper. I have to make sure that this video is up to the standards that I set for myself. And regardless whether or not these videos perform and they get tons of views, because there's tons of videos that we upload that don't do well. There's videos that I think are genius ideas that don't do anything. There's stories that I've had the opportunity to feature that I've been so honored to be able to feature. And I just know that these videos are going to take off. And of course, that's going to be good for me, but it's also going to be good for the people that we're featuring, because we'll be able to help them even further. Sometimes those stories don't take off. And all of those things in my particular wheelhouse with videos and YouTube, those are all little things that, I deal with. And sometimes it can deter me. I've been doing this for 5 years now, After Prison Show, and been successful with this for probably 4 years now. It's a lot to deal with. I don't get days off. I work 7 days a week. I'm up at, most of the time, probably 5 o'clock every single morning. And it's just my work ethic. I get tired, I go to bed early. It's not like I'm up partying and living this crazy life with some kind of internet stardom. I run this, it's a business. It's a business that I have to be responsible for 24/7. Yes, I am beyond grateful and beyond successful in terms of more success than I've ever seen in my life. But it is a 7-day-a-week job, almost 24 hours a day, in terms of constantly thinking and planning and preparing and editing and upload. I mean, it is filming. There's days when I'm sick. There's days when I don't even feel like getting in front of the camera. I'm depressed for whatever reason. But I got to get in front of there and do my job, because this is my job. It's my responsibility, and it's my thing that I want to keep successful. And no matter what it is that you want to do or what you come home to attempt to do. You have to approach it with the same level of determination. And that is just working harder at seeing yourself, beyond anything else, yourself become better and a successful person and a success more than what you have done in the past. Because you already know where you could end up, and it's right where you are right now. But it can get better. No matter what the situation is, it can get better. There's guys that I talk to who are serving life sentences. These guys are never coming home. And they found a way to try to do the very best that they can in their situation. They're in a spot that they're comfortable with. They're, still fighting with appeals and things like that, having hope with that. They found pen pals. They've got good prison jobs, if you can imagine that there is such a thing. But these guys are accepting what they have to do and accepting the situation that they have. And I guess really with that, I just speak to anybody who's got to do time. When I was sitting in prison, you couldn't really tell me anything. I didn't care if you had, been locked up. I didn't care if, you'd never been locked up. If you were trying to tell me anything, I really didn't want to hear it. And I was hard-headed like that. I am still hard-headed, even successful out here. Not only with YouTube, but with other ventures that I've done, I still am making mistakes. Not mistakes that are going to get me locked up, but learning mistakes and business mistakes that are costing me big time financially. But you have to just try to open yourself up to something different. While I was serving time, hope was my number one thing that carried me through my time. You have to have hope. And when you get released, you have got to work as hard as you possibly can toward trying to see whatever it is that you want to accomplish through.
And we get that hope from listening to guys like you, Joe, that really tell us how to do it. And you give us this almost roadmap. And this is not only a roadmap. What he is telling us is not a roadmap with regard to YouTube. But listen to what I learned from what he just said. He researched other people that were successful. You see, it's public. You can find that. Anybody could have done what Joe did. Anybody could have looked online, studied how to learn how to become an editor, studied what other successful people were doing, figure out how to put your own spin on it by being funny, being honest and telling the story. It's just, if you've got the right work ethic, you can make things happen out of nothing. I'm going to ask Joe a question, and this might surprise some of you when I tell you how big he is right now. How much money do you think did you have to have in capital to start the After Prison show?
Nothing.
I
had nothing.
Just a work ethic. He had to have the ability to go out and work a 12-hour shift, make a video using this technology right here. Just like if you're in jail right now, you can use this technology right here called a big pen. When he was in prison, he used pens and paper and crayon to make art, and he perfected it.
I'll show you something real quick, and I don't mean to cut you off, Michael.
Do it, brother.
This little composition notebook right here, it doesn't have a whole hell of a lot left in it, but this is a notebook that I had from prison where I was actually writing down things that I wanted to do and experience and try, and websites I wanted to visit, and movies I wanted to see, and places I wanted to eat, and this was giving me a lot of hope. So not just planning toward, your grand scheme of how you're going to find yourself successful, but just being able to enjoy life will add so much to your overall well-being in life. To be able to spend time with your family and go out to eat on a weekend, or just to be able to go somewhere that you've never been before. And Michael, I'm sorry for cutting you off. I apologize about that.
Brother, you cut me off anytime you want, because I am learning from you, and I'm taking your lessons to try and teach and inspire hundreds of thousands of people. And I want to grow this channel. I want to grow Prison Professors into every prison. And I go into prisons, Joe, and maybe someday you'll give me the honor of accompanying me into one of these jails or prisons so that people can interact with you like they interact with me, because I really think it's a guy like you that would have inspired me and given me hope when I was waiting for months to turn into years and years to turn into decades. I needed to see somebody like you, because all I really saw around me was a message that every day I work really hard to completely obliterate, because it's a message of failure, Joe. It's a message that I heard in prison a lot, and it said the best way to serve time is to forget about the world outside and focus on my life inside. Did you ever hear that while you were incarcerated?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's how I did my time for my first 4 years.
And yet he found a way to leave that behind, focus on learning, figuring out, writing, planning, and even today, now he's as big as many television networks. They don't get as many viewers as he's got. And he does it himself with his own intellectual property, okay? But one thing he says is every day he works hard, 7 days a week. Money doesn't make the man, okay? The man makes the money. And I know that Joe's time is really valuable. He's been on with us for an hour, and he told me only had an hour to go. So I'm going to be respectful and not keeping him on. But I'm going to ask you if maybe you come back with us again, because I got so many more questions to get from you, Joe, to bring into the jails and prison. And if you'll take time another day, I'd love to do a follow-up with you on some of these questions. Is that cool?
Absolutely. And I want to say something real quick. I know you probably see me looking at my phone a bunch. It's not because I'm not enjoying doing this, but this is also part of my work ethic as well. Like, I have to wait for the specific time for this video to get uploaded, and I can't miss that. So yeah, definitely I'm paying attention to all of this, and I want to be a part of this because I really respect this program that Michael's put together. I really respect his work ethic and his positivity and his story as well. And it's an honor for me to get a chance to network with him. So I want to say something real quick if we're going to wrap this up. And I want to speak to everybody who's taking the time to watch this. You know, I'm honored to get a chance to speak to you. It's not been something that I've been able to do before in the past, and it's only because of Michael that I'm getting this opportunity to speak to you guys. But, you know, one thing that I always said when I first started with what I do with After Prison Show was, you know, if I ever got to a point where I was successful, I wanted to try to help as many people as I could, and I wanted to try to give back in any way that I can. And I truly feel like this is a way for me to personally give back. And whatever you get from my story, if anything at all, one thing that I want to do is just to be able to motivate and inspire you guys watching this and to fill you with some kind of hope to know, look, I was a continuous and constant failure for my entire life. And I made something of myself. I am nobody special. I'm just somebody who worked my ass off to get to where I am. And no matter what it is that you want to accomplish with yourself, if you're getting another opportunity to do so, you can accomplish damn near anything out here. And like I said before, even if you don't reach whatever it is that you set as the top pedestal for what you want to achieve, I guarantee you if you work as hard as you possibly can when you get the opportunity to do so, you will get to a point that you will get to a point where you are truly happy and a point where you are successful. Because even if you don't reach the moon, you can still land amongst the stars. As cliche as that saying is, it's a true saying. Reach for the moon, and even if you miss, you can land within the stars.
That's the wisdom from Joe Guerrero, the founder and the host of the After Prison Show. And I'm going to ask Joe to come back with us again because I know that, you know, the staff member have training all the time. It's just like you need training all the time. You can listen to this show on the audio podcast that we're putting in there, on the videos, to go see it in the library. We'll listen to it while you're walking to the track. If you're in the segregated housing unit right now, be thinking about prison professors. He is a prison professor. He is somebody that went through prison, came back, became everything that he wanted. That's why he's an inspiration to me. And Joe, I just really personally, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank you for spending time with our brothers that are locked up in jails and prisons across America. This is a bad time in America. There's a lot of people struggling. Guys coming out are going to have a hard time, but if you follow Joe's advice, you can become whatever you want to become. Thank you, Joe.
Not a problem. I look forward to coming back.